This past December, I recently finished my series breaking down the campaigns in Left 4 Dead 2. All the main campaigns are officially completed, but that doesn't mean we're done with campaign breakdowns. For the first time on the channel, we are breaking down an unofficial Left 4 Dead map, starting off with the Last Stand campaign. Despite its very short runtime, I really do like this campaign. The events are unique and the challenge is certainly there, and just like all the other Left 4 Dead campaigns, there are plenty of small details that are easy to miss. Before we officially start breaking down this campaign, I want to quickly talk about the Last Stand update. As most of you know, the Last Stand is a little different from the other campaigns. Released in September of 2020, the Last Stand campaign was the centerpiece of a massive Left 4 Dead update. An update that was spearheaded by a small team of die-hard Left 4 Dead fans. What started out as a small anniversary patch then quickly snowballed into a large collaborative effort that would change Left 4 Dead forever. The Last Stand was a very large update, with many changes that improved the overall experience. New weapons were added, long-time bugs were finally gone, and general improvements were made to all game modes. It doesn't matter if you preferred single player, versus, or survival, this update had you covered. With the release of this update, the Left 4 Dead player base skyrocketed, reaching a peak of 100,000 players. Keep in mind, this update was released over 10 years after Left 4 Dead 2 was released, and it was brought to us by a team of extremely passionate and hardworking Left 4 Dead players. I wanted to point this out because The Last Stand is not just a campaign. It was a massive update that greatly improved the overall experience while at the same time drawing in thousands of new players. Overall point is, the hard work and effort that was put in by the team cannot be understated. Now, with all the introductions out of the way, let's finally break down the story behind The Last Stand. The Last Stand serves as a what-if scenario that takes place after the events of Death Toll. It's also an extension of the OG survival map seen in Left 4 Dead 1. Right before you reach the finale of Death Toll, if you look to the right, you'll see a truck. If you head into NoClip and look at the back of this truck, you'll see a few boxes and a lantern. And when you head over to the Last Stand campaign, you can find what looks like the exact same truck. If you look at the truck bed, you can find the same boxes and lantern, with the only differences being the body in the back and the lantern being turned on. Also in the finale of Death Toll, you can find a white van. And at the start of the Last Stand campaign, behind a fence, you find a very similar white van. The survivors could have taken the van or the truck, either is entirely possible. Overall point is, we have a general idea how the survivors got here. We got a few more things to break down in the opening seconds of this campaign. At the start of chapter 1, if you turn around and look over the fence, you can find a pile of charred bodies, and on the left you can find a sign saying Riverside Park, a clear indicator that we're still close to the city of Riverside. On the right of the truck you can find a grave, with a body covered in a sheet or blanket, and next to this grave you can find a dead hunter with its back blown out. In a teaser trailer for The Last Stand, Bill can be seen killing a hunter and yanking an axe out of its back. It's a cool detail that I wanted to point out for those who may not have seen the trailer. After taking a few steps outside the starting area, you find a pile of dead livestock, and once you reach the end of the road, you find a bus and a car that's been heavily damaged by a rock slide. Once you get past the fence, the survivors witness a plane crash overhead. After walking a little further, the survivors cut through a house with a water wheel. Before going any further, we have some graffiti to break down. Under the bridge, you can find this. Don't let my death be in vain. Inside the house, you can find this. They're getting closer. I can't run or hide anymore. I know I'm going to die here. Whoever you are, please remember me. Clyde Williams. Near the bathroom, you can find a table. 2 empty beer bottles and a deck of cards can be seen, implying that more than one person was holding out here. We'll talk more about this later, but for now we're going to move on. Once you leave the house, you can find this written on the side. Looters will be shot. If you walk to the side of the house, you can find a pile of corpses and a wheelbarrow. Someone clearly tried to dispose of these infected corpses. Maybe it was the Clyde Williams mentioned earlier. Before going any further, there is one more thing that needs to be pointed out. If you walk along the side of the water wheel house, you find this door. Hitting this door with a melee weapon enough times will unlock the secret room. These are the names of the Last Stand development team, and it's obviously too many names to go through individually. For those interested, I will link the full credits in the description alongside the Left 4 Dead community YouTube page. If you have a second, be sure to subscribe to them. Also in the secret room, you find a dead body sitting at a computer. Interacting with the keyboard grants you a golden crowbar, which became a staple in the Last Stand update. Now, let's move on. Walking up the road, you'll notice 2 trucks. The truck beds are loaded with supplies, and one of these trucks still has its headlights on, implying that it was abandoned not too long ago. Before reaching the junkyard, we have one piece of graffiti to break down. Inside of a garage, you find this. 2 Thessalonians 1:9. This is another Bible reference, similar to the one found in the Death Toll campaign. The 1:9 is referring to chapter 1 verse 9, which reads as follows. They will be punished with everlasting destruction, and shut out from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his might. Next up, we have the Junkyard, where we have even more graffiti to break down. We're doomed. There's too many. Goodbye, everyone. Eric, you saved us. I hope you can handle that old engine. The army failed. Riverside has fallen. Jacob, meet me at the lighthouse. Daryl. Where the fuck is the army? Who the hell goes around censoring swear words in the fucking zombie apocalypse? Dude, stop. Never. Zombies, guns, I just need some metal and I'm ready to kick some ass. Xenogen. Now let's talk about the Junkyard event. This is one of the most unique events in the game. The survivors have to restart 4 generators to power a crane. If you have 4 players, you can handle this event just fine. Despite being a large area, there's also plenty of line of sight breakers, making it easy for spawns in versus mode. Shortly after leaving the junkyard, the survivors find the crash site of the plane seen earlier. The dead body of the pilot can be seen next to the plane. Shortly after, the survivors drop into a small village. A few things to break down before we head over to Chapter 2. If you enter the first cabin on the left, you find a fridge. Holding E on the fridge will open the door, and inside you find a dead body. At the far end of the village, you find a reinforced wooden gate. And on a rooftop, you can find an SOS message. Now, let's break down some more wall graffiti. I was abandoned, I was backstabbed. I was left to die. My blood is on your hands now. Martin. Frank, if you see this, get away now. It isn't safe here. I won't make it. Farewell, my friend. Will. Behind one of the cabins, you also find this. Find me at the old mill. I built it myself. It has a bunker. Daniel. Ignore him. He's mad. This is almost certainly referring to the mill seen at the beginning of Chapter 1. Remember the table with the 2 empty beer bottles and the deck of cards, and the Clyde Williams wall graffiti found in the same house? This is simply speculation, but it's possible that both Daniel and Clyde tried to hold out in the mill together. Both of these pieces of wall graffiti imply that 2 different survivors tried to hold out at the mill. Odds are they were driven out or simply turned into zombies. Again, there's no way to know for sure, but I think it's worth pointing out. Shortly after, the survivors go over a bridge. A quick side note before heading over to Chapter 2. This campaign looks amazing. Its environments are well detailed, I love the late night setting, and as I mentioned in prior videos, fighting zombies through destroyed cities can get tiresome after a while, so the park setting definitely earns it some bonus points for me. Now, let's head over to Chapter 2. There is only one piece of graffiti in the safe room and it's this. Thank you, Carrie. Chapter 2 isn't very long, but we still have a few things to break down before we talk about the lighthouse. If you leave the safe room and head to the right of the cabin, you find this. Jim, thank you for your sacrifice. This is referring to Jim French, the voice actor for Bill who sadly passed away in 2017. Shortly after, the survivors see a tower, and once you reach the stairs, you find another piece of graffiti that reads as follows. If you're reading this, escape while you can. After climbing the first set of stairs, you also find this. We don't go to the lighthouse. Now, if you head to the very top of this tower, we have a few more things to talk about. On a wall and on a table, you can find the maps that I pointed out in the Death Toll and Blood Harvest videos. 2 dead bodies can also be found, and on a table you find a radio. If you try interacting with the radio, this will happen.
Is anyone there?
It's almost impossible to know who or where this guy is, but regardless, it's a really nice detail. Before arriving at the lighthouse, you see a small cabin on the right. If you enter this cabin, you see a dead body and a radio on a table. Behind the table, you find this written on the wall. Now, let's finally talk about the lighthouse. The lighthouse has a lot of wall graffiti. Most of it was added with the Last Stand campaign, but some of these pieces of wall graffiti can be found in the OG survival map. With this in mind, let's head over to the Left 4 Dead 1 version of the Last Stand and read off some wall graffiti. October 30th, 2009. Derek let us here. Dead end. Derek's dead now, asshole. KLMNPS. No escape. Maddie, if you can read this, run. They followed us here. Only way out was the way we came. Thousands of them now. I love you. Dean. Jonathan Kensrew. I will kill them until they get me. Now, with all this in mind, let's head back over to the Left 4 Dead 2 version of The Last Stand and read off even more wall graffiti. Again, there's a lot, so I'll try and go through the interesting ones. Rescue never came. Don't turn on the beacon. Jay. There's too many of them. I saw 2 behemoths. I thought the countryside was supposed to be safe. The entire country is infected. Nowhere is safe. Stop writing. Start shooting. First, I was robbing the White House. Now I'm surviving the zombie apocalypse. I wonder what's next. David. Now, with all that out of the way, let's finally talk about the finale from a gameplay perspective. It's hard. Like one of the hardest in the game in my opinion. First, you have the standard defend your position segment, but after the generator shuts off, the survivors have to fill up the generator by grabbing cans of gas. In versus mode especially, this finale is a lot of fun. The lighthouse is also sitting atop a cliff, making this a prime location for instant kills. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know just how much I love depth charges in this game. Unless it happens to you, of course.
Look out!
After fighting off the infected hordes, the survivors are rescued by a familiar boat. And that concludes the story behind The Last Stand. I've been warming up to this campaign over the years. I love the difficulty, I love the setting, and the finale is definitely one of my favorites. And remember the most impressive part, this map and update was brought to us by a small team of Left 4 Dead community members. Once again, the hard work and effort that was put in by the team cannot be understated, and this community is very lucky to have them. I will link the full credits to The Last Stand in the description below, along with the YouTube page belonging to the Left 4 Dead community team. Be sure to show them some love. If you guys have anything to add, or if I missed anything, be sure to let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.